Welcome everyone to today's Explainer. Right now we're diving into a really fascinating shift happening in industrial manufacturing. We're talking specifically about the folks who make adhesive wheel weights, balance weights. It's kind of a niche space, sure, but it is a massive industry. And honestly, the way these weights are made, it's undergoing a total transformation. Today, we're going to explore how a company called YILSA is fundamentally changing the game here. Their big mission is all about completely eliminating external supplier dependency and maximizing your profitability through this next-generation integrated production system. It's basically a masterclass in how smart engineering directly impacts your bottom line. Let's get into it.
Okay, so here is our quick roadmap for today. 1. Who is YILSA? 2. The production line machines. 3. We'll hit the revolutionary technologies. 4. We'll dive into the cost table. And finally, number 5, the growth advantage.
All right, Section 1. Who exactly is YILSA?
Well, to really get what YILSA is doing, you have to realize they aren't just out there selling ordinary, off-the-shelf machinery. Not at all. Their core focus is on permanently eliminating the inefficiencies and cutting off that reliance on external suppliers that absolutely plague traditional methods. They're really offering an engineering partnership. Look, if you're a manufacturer, you already know how incredibly frustrating it is when your production just grinds to a halt because you're waiting on some custom-sized raw material to show up from a supplier. YILSA's entire philosophy is built around ending that dependency and giving you total control back.
And this brilliantly illustrates what they mean by an adhesive wheel weight production line. It's not just a collection of separate tools, it's a fully integrated system. Raw wire coil enters at one end, and completely sales-ready packages exit at the other. The whole shebang happens seamlessly, perfectly integrated, right there under your factory's roof. No more sending parts out for processing, and no more relying on third parties for your core materials.
Moving on to Section 2, let's check out the actual production line machines.
So we can essentially track a piece of raw steel wire logically through these 3 sequential workhorses of the line. Step 1 is wire flattening. That's where the raw material gets prepped. Step 2 is the rotary punch, chopping and marking phase, which is honestly the beating heart of the whole operation. And then Step 3 is taping and packaging, where the final product is readied for your customer. It's just a beautifully streamlined flow straight from raw steel to a finished, ready-to-ship box.
Okay, Section 3, the revolutionary technologies. This is where it gets really good.
Now, what's really interesting here is this one massive number, 60,000. That is 60,000 pieces produced every single hour. To put that into perspective for a second, that is literally 4 to 6 times faster than traditional eccentric presses. It is an absolute game changer for production volume, translating to roughly 300 kilograms of output every single hour. Just incredible speed.
Let's directly contrast that clunky old way with this new way. The traditional eccentric press relies on this jarring stop-and-go motion. It's super noisy, it vibrates like crazy, it creates a ton of metal scrap, and worst of all, you have to buy expensive, custom-sized flat steel. The YILSA Rotary Punch, on the other hand, uses continuous rotary cutting. It's honestly like a pair of scissors, just smoothly slicing through the metal. You get low vibration and, get this, 0% scrap. Literally zero. Plus, it holds a flawless weight precision of plus or minus 0.5 grams.
But hey, the innovation doesn't stop at the cutting phase. A massive 40% raw material savings is achieved right at the very first step of the line, the wire flattening machine. See, instead of buying pricey, pre-processed custom flat steel coils, this machine lets you buy standard, incredibly cheap 8mm construction wire, stuff you can find anywhere, and it crushes it into the exact flat shape you need right there on your own factory floor. By doing this, your raw material costs just plummet instantly.
And finally, we reach the end of the line. The taping and packaging phase is fully automated. I'm talking absolutely zero human touch. The galvanized and marked products come right out of the chopper, they're automatically and perfectly aligned, and then pressed onto double-sided tape at a crazy capacity of 90 kilograms an hour. Then, the system automatically counts the strips and boxes them up. Off the tape, straight to shipment. Just continuous, uninterrupted output.
All right, let's get into the hard numbers. Section 4, the cost table.
So the crucial point here is that by processing your own standard wire, your raw material savings sit at that 40% mark, bringing your cost per ton down to just about $570. But the absolute most important metric is this final one, $593. That's the total production cost to produce a standard 6-kilogram box, which contains 100 strips of 5 plus 5 gram weights. And listen to this.
That $593 covers everything: the labor, the energy, the double-sided tape, the galvanizing, and the raw iron.
Hitting a cost of $593 per box? That is a massive strategic investment in profitability. It creates this competitive advantage that makes it almost impossible for your competitors in the market to even approach you. Think about it. If they're still buying expensive pre-slip flat steel and dealing with the high scrap rates from those old traditional presses, their box cost is going to be significantly higher. You essentially reach a market position that is simply incomparable.
Which brings us to Section 5, the growth advantage.
To truly understand how effortlessly you can scale with this system, just keep this one staggering ratio in mind: 4. One high-speed rotary punch chopping machine produces weight so incredibly fast, again at 60,000 pieces per hour, that it actually has the power to feed 4 taping machines simultaneously, just one chopper.
And that ratio builds a massive strategic advantage for your factory. If you wanted to scale up an old traditional press line, you'd have to buy a whole new press, a new decoiler, hire another operator, and eat up a huge amount of factory space. But scaling the YILSA system, it is practically plug and play. Because your front-end chopper is already running so fast, all you do is just add another taping unit. No extra operator needed for cutting, no new press, and massive space savings. You get this asymmetrical, modular growth with very little additional investment.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. So here's the big question. Instead of pouring money into slow, cumbersome, and expensive traditional press lines, are you ready to process your own raw material, bring your costs to the absolute bottom, and multiply your production power? It's a fundamental shift from being a dependent manufacturer to becoming an independent powerhouse. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into YILSA's integrated production line. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.